Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and do not fret, the Switch 2 is sitting. What do I mean when I say the Switch 2 is sitting? I mean that regardless of when you wake up today, or when you go outside, or when you watch this video, you'll more than likely be able to walk into a Target or a Best Buy or some type of retailer and pick up a Switch 2 with ease. This is not a console launch that um, saw scarcity in numbers. This is not a console launch where the hype and hysteria was so large that we didn't have consoles available at the end of the launch. No. This launch, in my opinion, was marked by a lot of enthusiasm from those who were really anxious and eager to get the system. But in general, there is not this massive level of hysteria the way YouTube might make you think there is. But I first want to say shout out to everyone who stood in line all day yesterday and into midnight waiting online for their Switch 2. Shout out to you guys. I think that, for anyone who waited in line, for anyone who camped out or anything like that, I feel like for those people, this launch was more so about the experience. And I think there are people who really get a sense of nostalgia from camping out, because camping out is something that was done, I think, a lot more back in the day. But we're just not in that era right now. What happened with the PS5 in terms of the scarcity with the PS5 launch, a lot of that was driven due to the pandemic. The pandemic was like, I don't know, it was like NOS. It was like a NOS injector. It supercharged everything. It supercharged desire, it supercharged hype, it supercharged everything because people had nothing to do back then and a lot of spare cash. We're not in that era anymore, and it's gonna take a lot. It really takes something very special for people to, be on it to the level where it completely sells out and you can't get your hands on it and it's just impossible to get. And so I think this launch was more so just about the warm and tingly feelings, I guess, that you get from camping out, the experience that you would have depending on where you got your Switch from. If you went to the Nintendo store in New York, that was really more about just having an experience at the Nintendo store in New York. If you went to any type of launch party, again, that was just more about, the moment, the enthusiasm. But I don't think it was necessarily about, the console being scarce and not being able to get your hands on it. I think the last time, or the last console launch that we saw that was like super limited was when PlayStation decided to do their PlayStation 5 30th anniversary bundle. That was something that, obviously was just incredibly difficult to get your hands on, and there was a lot of hype around it. But we all know that was because there was a very limited number of those PS5 Pro bundles available. They did come out with the PlayStation 5 30th anniversary Slim option for those who were interested, and even those still had some hype around them. I think with the Switch, a lot of people were afraid that there weren't going to be enough units to go around due to the tariffs, due to just issues that we're having right now. But no amount of tariffs, no amount of trade wars will ever compete with a global pandemic. Nothing that we're seeing now is ever going to compete with that. A pandemic is a once in a lifetime event that created a once in a lifetime chain reaction, and that chain reaction lasted for what felt like about half a decade, as it should. And here we are now with things. Not only have things gone back to normal, but in this post-pandemic era, a lot of things have changed. A lot of people that lost their jobs, they lost their jobs for good. They lost their jobs to remote workers that are overseas. They lost their jobs to AI, right? Like there's just, there's just so many things that are different about today, than where they were even 5 years ago. So I don't think that it's not that people don't want the Switch 2. I think people want it. I think people are going to want to obviously play and experience it. But most people are not pressed, to be honest with you. And I think in the eyes of the casual gamer, like just the casual consumer, the casual consumer is looking at the Switch 2 and they're not seeing much of a difference between the Switch 2 and the original Switch. They're just not seeing it. A casual consumer does not care about 4K. They don't care about frame rates. They don't care about a lot of the like quality of life improvements that are boasted, that Nintendo boasts with their new console. So there's just not enough of a differentiating, factor there for the casual consumer to really feel the need to jump all over this console. And I think it's great. Again, I think it's a great system. Eventually, I will get one. Like later on down the road, I think you'll probably see a lot more interest in the console towards the end of the year when the holidays come and people are trying to figure out what gifts they're gonna get, friends and family members for Christmas and stuff. But yeah, this the midnight launches and the camping out and stuff, it was cool to see, but it definitely wasn't necessary. Like you didn't have to do that because like I said, I'm pretty sure today when you wake up, if you go to Target, if you go to Walmart, if you go to Best Buy, there's going to be a store somewhere near you that has one that you can pretty easily walk in and pick one up for a very with ease, pretty much. And as far as scalpers go, if you tried to scalp the Switch 2, you're stupid. In my opinion, I think anyone trying to scalp this console, you just did a bunch of work for nothing. That was an effort in futility. And anyone who does buy a Switch 2 from a scalper, you're just lazy. You have not tried to check any of your stores because these things are available. Don't buy these from scalpers, please. Do not buy a Switch 2 from a scalper. You don't need to do that. They're definitely available and you don't have to spend that extra money. So, again, shout out to everyone who jumped, online, camped out, waited all day, all that jazz. Shout out to you. I'm sure those folks had a great experience doing that, but it was not necessary to get the console. Wake up. You may not even have to go outside. You may be able to even just order it offline. In some cases, I think certain consoles are available on Nintendo's website. I think there was 3 options when I checked Nintendo's website this morning, and 2 of the 3 options are still available for ordering online. So yeah, but I already know what's going to be happening with, throughout the next 24 to 48 hours and all weekend. Here come an avalanche of Switch 2 videos. So I don't even know if I'm going to need to make a video for the next few days because there's going to be so many Switch 2 videos of people playing Mario Kart World. And I mean, it's just going to be a flooding of Switch 2 content. So get ready. Get your popcorn ready. If you don't have one, get ready to live vicariously through all of those who picked one up, because they are definitely going to be ready to show the system and their gameplay footage. So, but let me know. Let me know if you picked up a Switch 2. Let me know if it's completely sold out near you or if you're seeing additional copies like I am in my area. But that does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. Hope you all have a great day.